Namaste.
Hello and welcome to the Sikkim podcast brought to you by Summit Times. I'm Chiringiden.
I'm Pema Wangchuk.
Today we don't have Uttam Gurung because he's busy with some other work.
Yeah, today I think it's on a personal errand. Last time it was official business. But anyways.
So today we are going to discuss a couple of very interesting topics today.
Yeah.
But so let's start with what happened, let's say yesterday, I think.
No, the first notification came out on 22nd.
But the news broke out yesterday.
Yes.
The notification about no extension being granted to temporary employees, which was issued by the Chief Secretary.
Yes, a circular.
Circular issued
to all
by
the secretaries.
And then today a corrigendum was issued.
Yeah.
Saying that the services of temporary ad hoc muster roll employees and those belonging to consolidated category will be taken into consideration after thoroughly examining the genuineness of the actual requirement in respective departments. So what the previous circular had said was that all temporary employees who are on extension will
No.
Not on extension.
Not on extension.
Sorry, my mistake.
So the original notification had said that it bhumika bandha tha pehle. They said that government has appointed thousands of people on OJ. There is need for austerity or whatever. Again, I got it wrong. I know what this word has this play on my tongue.
OJ.
OJ. Okay. And that we have already got thousands of people employed under that. And there is need for austerity. So all employees on hired on temporary basis for specific works, when their tenures end, this was a direction given to the secretaries that you keep recommending extensions for these people to the DOP. From now on, don't send any extensions. In effect, saying that when people are hired on temporary basis, which for muster roll is a maximum of 90 days, and for ad hocs and work charged employees is based on the project they're working on, no more extensions for them. And this was so sudden and surprising that the government actually was saying it in as many words that for a while I thought it was fake news. I thought someone was playing a prank, because no government will just say something like this without having ever implied it in any public meetings or anything like that, right? This is not one of the present ruling party's promises either. So for a while it was like, I think even on social media people were saying fake news because it was so preposterous that someone would say something like this. And sure enough, today the corrigendum came out, right? So the first circular came out on 22nd and the corrigendum came out on 24th.
Yeah.
Which said, like you mentioned, that
consideration.
They'll be taken into consideration.
After thoroughly
examining.
I don't know.
I mean, and how many things is this bureaucracy going to thoroughly examine when they obviously can't even show up on time for work, despite the 5-day week, because that's the other thing that they discussed in the cabinet.
Yeah, that will get on
to next.
Later.
Yes. So, I mean, I think it's a very ugly walk back from the corner that the original circular painted the government into. Because first, it's not a corrigendum. A corrigendum is a correction. If you're going to get into technicalities, this is an addendum. This is like, in addition to what we said earlier, here is some more explanation. Yeah, I know Latin. I think we should do this podcast in Latin or something. Given we'll be talking so much about bureaucracy and their obsession with these terms like... So this is not a corrigendum because there is no correction involved here. All that is being done is then additional information is being given that we will thoroughly examine every case. I think if I have to make a guess, they'll probably withdraw the original circular.
All right, I have one question.
Yes.
It just popped into my head. It might make no sense, but so they are saying, from my layman's whatever perspective, laywoman's perspective, what I understand is that
because they're even changing. They're changing. There is a city in Canada which is going to remove the word manhole from all their municipal. Shit, that is worse. I mean, that will probably have to be beeped out or something. But I don't know what they're going to call. I just read the headline. But anyways, returning,
okay.
yes, from your layperson's perspective.
Is that they're saying the notification says that it's like an austerity measure, right? They
Yes.
want to reduce the number of employees and
Yes.
therefore like reduce the amount
Burden.
of money is that the government spends.
Mhm.
Very lay
Yeah,
woman.
that's exactly
So-
what it is.
And they're saying that the OFOJ employees, OFOJ may so many people have been hired who also have to be paid, right? Which is why these, let's say, temporary employees are to be laid off.
Mm.
But OFOJ is also, we don't know whether they are temporary or permanent. The earlier government had said they would be made regular. Permanent
After 5 years.
after 5 years. So if the OFOJ is also temporary, they'll also then, after they're completing their tenure, they'll go away, right?
Yeah.
Then these abhi jo temporary hai, they'll also, after their tenure, they're supposed to be not given any extension. Then who will be in? That's like a
Only the regular
huge-
employees.
Only the
No, I don't think it's going to get to that, because see, when you're hired as a muster role, on a muster role basis, the general principle is, I think, do they do it every month or every 3 months? That you're fired and then you're rehired, right? It's because then another
85 days.
89,
89,
probably
89,
90
yeah.
days is when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
start becoming regular, whatever. So there is a fixed tenure, right? 89-day tenure or whatever. With the OFOJ appointments, they don't specify a time limit. They call it temporary, but it's not as if they are being hired and fired every 89 days. So there is that. It's a technicality we're talking about, and bureaucrats are very good at wrapping themselves up in technicalities. I think OFOJ will not be touched because it had become a hot potato, right? Remember when they did scrutiny ke time mein will remove
but
people, they
how-
took all of them back.
No, we've talked about this before also. Like OFOJ are just new, not untrained, but
Untrained.
let's say, no, okay, untrained, not unqualified, but
No, yeah,
untrained, right?
untrained, yes.
So untrained people, to give preference to them over MRs and temporary employees who have been working there for more than 20
No,
years.
those have been regularized. Now
Okay,
we are left
sorry.
with only a set of those who have worked for 5 years.
5 years. So 5 years still.
They're waiting regularization, and
Yeah.
now you tell them goodbye. I'm telling you, there is obviously a miscommunication which led to this circular. It is extremely embarrassing what has happened, and or maybe not, because
No,
see,
and
with
then-
the OFOJ, there's also a problem that OFOJ appointments are on posts that were created, right? These posts did not exist. MRs and ad hoc and everyone have been appointed on posts that were existent.
I don't think so. There are many which were also created like randomly.
Huh, okay. No, see, this is that dharam sankat you fall into all the time, right? We have a problem, like we discuss this often, that the government is overweight. I mean, it's got too many more employees than is healthy for any administration or state exchequer. But when they do something like this, you immediately sit back and say, yeah, like, thoda to soch lena chahiye tha.
No, yeah, and at the same time, going back to that
Yeah.
topic, at the same time, when they say that in the corrigendum, when they say that we will look into each and every case and only the genuine ones will be kept, what is genuine, right? So again, usme, it is just another way of perpetuating what the previous government was doing, right? Favoring a few, favoring those who.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and how many things, like we said earlier, how many things are they going to thoroughly examine? They are already examining every one of the 22,000 OFOJ employees, right?
Yes.
Now they've got a committee that is looking into the grievances with the pay scales. Most of the secretaries and the chief secretaries sit on 100 different committees, like measles and rubella vaccination drive and Swachh Bharat Abhiyans and all that. So, I don't know. They obviously can't do anything properly, which is quite obvious. I guess it is because they're so busy that they come up with these half-baked circulars that require corrigendums, which require addendums, which are called corrigendums, and now we'll come with another corrigendum. And
We'll say that it was actually an addendum.
Which was actually an addendum. And then will come a circular, will say, oh, forget about all that, we're just withdrawing it and like, ash karo sab log.
Alright, so let's move on to the other topic.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the political fallout of this.
Okay.
And of the MRs and work charge. I mean,
obviously there's going to be some reaction.
It's going to be crazy because people are so confused. Like I said, I mean, if we think that this is so outlandish that this could be fake news, obviously It is major, right? And we should have got a hint of this from the cabinet meeting that took place on 22nd itself, right? Was it 22nd or was it 21st that the cabinet sat, where they took this decision, and when that no extensions will be granted. And when we read it, we all assumed it to be that people who are on re-employment or service extensions will no longer be entertained, which was clearly not the case. Yes.
So we still don't know. You are
No, because the language, what the cabinet minute said is, services of those persons who had finished their tenure shall be terminated forthwith. No one calls a regular government service a tenure. Or they might.
But still, we are just assuming.
Because we have the similar language in the circular that said all temporary employees, MR and all will be removed.
Yeah, but they also, this government has also outspokenly been very outspoken about its position against service extension,
right?
So they have, I think,
in the previous things appealed ki mat karo and all that,
No,
but
no.
there are some who are still on the service
and
extension.
some they have been let go.
Some have been let go,
Some
yes.
have been let go. So we don't know exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of confusion. But let's move on to the other topics.
Yes.
Otherwise, this is going to be
Again,
another hour long.
one rant.
So the budget session, the controversy surrounding the budget session,
Okay.
where the SDF came up with the argument that the SKM government
Yes. It's a minority government.
it's a minority government, cannot place a budget or pass a budget, and or even if it passes the budget, it cannot use that allocate budget for work and will not be able to use it. That is their argument, right?
Mhm.
And SKM countered it with just that this CM, the former CM had already accepted SKM government as the majority government. So why are they saying this now?
Yes.
They're saying this now is an anti-people act,
Yes,
because the budget is pro-people.
Oh, yeah.
And so that argument, so what do you have to say about that?
It's a technicality we're playing with right now because of the by-elections and the seats, the one seat that SKM had to let go of and the 2 seats that SDF let go of. What that has resulted in is that SKM has an effective strength in the assembly of 16, which is the halfway mark, right? They've got 16 MLAs, and one of those MLAs is the speaker, who doesn't get to vote except in a tiebreaker. So they're down to 15. So technically speaking, yes, they are a minority government, but their by-election still awaited. And there are 3 seats that could go either way. So that is there. As far as the budget not being passed, I've tried to do some research. It's limited, of course. We don't have constitutional experts, access to constitutional experts. So it's limited to online research. But from what we understand is that bills, normal bills, and maybe even the budget, can be passed by a majority of the people who are voting or are present in the assembly on that particular day. So in that sense, SKM has the majority, right? Even if 15 of them vote, it is right now a 29.
15-13, no?
15-13, but it's a 29-member assembly right now.
Yeah.
So 15 is majority, right? It's as clear a majority as 17 that they had won. So in that sense, they might be able to pass the budget. I think SDF is also talking about whether it would be ethical for them to do that, since they don't have a clear mandated strength in the assembly for them to do it, right? So it's just semantics. I think rhetoric है, बोल रहे हैं, budget तो pass हो गई.
But the SDF is also threatened to go to court, right, regarding this?
They've already gone to court regarding
that's
the chief minister's appointment. Yeah.
This also, I
Have
think.
they? I don't know.
I think they have said that it would be in. Okay. Anyways, I don't want to say
constitutional
anything.
complication. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But that'll be an interesting one to watch out for. About what they can pull off. Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next topic,
Okay.
which is the Gurudongmar controversy again, which has suddenly picked up
Traction on social media.
picked up traction on social media, and I have seen these people putting up "I am Gurudongmar" as their profile pictures on Facebook. I'm only on Facebook, so I don't know what's happening on other social media platforms. But there has been this talk. I mean, I've seen people writing about it also, I think, posting opinions, updates about this whole Gurudongmar controversy. So, why don't you first give us a background about what the controversy is about?
Yeah, so this goes back to, I think it was in March, that the Lachen Zumsa decided that the Sarvadharm Sthal, which was constructed by the army, it was a very controversial construction even at that time in the 90s. Sarvadharma Sthal there needs to be renovated or whatever. So for renovation or reconstruction or demolition and clearing, whatever, the religious items housed there had to be removed. And the religious items out there, it was a Sarvadharma Sthal, all faith thing, but essentially a Gurdwara, right? It began as a Gurdwara. After the controversy surrounding it, it was converted to a Sarvadharma Sthal. So the Sikh religious items like the Guru Granth Sahib and all the other items that might have been there, the Lachen Zumsa collected it and brought it down and left it at the Gurudwara at Chungthang. And so from there it starts. Now, did they do it right? Did they follow the proper procedures? Maybe not, right? They're Buddhist monks. They would not know what the rituals involving the movement of a Guru Granth Sahib, which is the holy book of the Sikhs, which has a very strict kind of rituals attached to it on how it has to be shifted from one place to the other, because it's a guru. The Guru Granth Sahib, as far as the people are concerned, is the living guru for the Sikhs. So it's a major issue. That was removed, and the Sikhs believe that it was removed without adequate care or respect that should be accorded to the Guru Granth Sahib. And it starts off from there. So the case in the court is this episode. It is not whether the Gurdwara deserves to be there or not, or whether Gurudongmar is Guru Nanak Jheel or not. It is about that these items were removed from there, protection of places of religious worship and all those laws that we have. On those grounds, it has been contested. So to think that it's somehow being... So the court case is not about who Gurudongmar is holy for or anything like that. The case is essentially about whether that was done correctly or not, appropriate, proper procedures are followed or not.
Do we have any updates on the case?
Not that I know of. Most probably got adjourned and some other affidavits are awaited. Because right now the court is collecting affidavits. So the SDM and the DCs and whoever other officers were there, they'll have to give their affidavits on what actually happened. Because it had become, even that story kind of went viral online, right? There were photographs of these items wrapped up, and if you talk to the monks, they say, oh, we wrapped them all up in khadas and we were respectful in our way, and we left it at the Gurudwara, which is where it should be. And the Sikhs, when they look at those pictures, they see, oh, this was just left on the floor or something like that. So there is offense on both sides. But the story is obviously not about this particular one episode. It's about the claims and counterclaims about to whom the divinity of Gurudongmar belongs.
Yeah, because what I have been hearing is that people are just saying that they are like, unarle ta hamro Gurudongmar lanu atisakyo and stuff like that I've been hearing, which I don't know.
Yeah, whether people
where that is coming from.
No, where that is coming from is, I'll tell you, okay, so I was a reporter when this controversy first broke out. It's like 95, 96. The GOC in Sikkim at that time. And see it's like a very complicated one, but a quick intro to the whole thing. Gurudongmar, Guru Nanak. Dang is that stick that they carry. So they concocted this whole...
Dang is the stick who carries?
Guru Nanak carries.
Okay.
The walking stick. It's a dang.
Okay.
Right? So all the Guru Rinpoche stories associated with Gurudongmar were also transposed onto Guru Nanak.
Okay.
That he must have done all this. Well, forget about all those stories, right? You can believe what you want. But because these areas is where the army controls the space, this officer went ahead and made a Gurudwara there, which was wrong at all levels. It was culturally inappropriate. It was kind of religiously you appropriated someone else's beliefs. And the Lachenpas used to have a small, what is that called? They have that small thing in which you burn sang and all that.
Choten types? I don't know.
So whatever it's called, right? So that is what they had there. They had no permanent structures. They would offer prayers at that site. It was always a holy site. But army hai wahan pe, and like the locals are not allowed, right? You and I to go there need permits, and we are like go through army areas. They just overnight constructed. So I blame the forest department for it, because that's a protected area, forest reserve. You cannot make a road or anything permanent in forest areas without getting proper clearance. But the army went ahead and made an entire cement gurdwara there. And then at that time tourism wasn't allowed. So very few people would go there. The few people who would go there would be local residents of that area. So you can understand that even their voice is kind of hobbled by the fact that they have to live among the army guys. So they would not speak up much. So boards came up leading on the road going to Gurudongmar, which said Guru Nanak Jheel. So this whole cultural appropriation kar diya tha in log ne. So as far as, and then there was of course eventually we did that story. There was a lot of noise about it, and people stood up, people were forced to speak up, and then they came to this resolution that it will not be called a gurdwara, it will be called a sarv dharmsthal, because even though you're breaking forest laws and rules, taking down a religious place is something that our country still cannot do very easily, right?
Yeah.
So ban to gaya. So you just convert. They said, okay, we'll not call it a gurdwara, we'll call it a sarv dharmsthal. So we'll put a painting of Buddha, Sai Baba, Jesus, everyone there, and it becomes everyone's. But and that's how it stayed. They took down the sign saying Guru Nanak Jheel, so it became Gurudongmar again, and so that appropriation went away a bit. And then again it came alive with this particular episode that has happened there. So it is better if it is resolved. It's just like people can run with these fears and take it to areas that you don't really want them to go to. So that is something people, and it's not about getting nationalistic or ultra parochial. It's just not right what the army did there, and it should be settled. And forest department should be held accountable how they allowed this to happen. And for the people, and they made a parking lot there, a cemented parking lot there, which blocked the access of wild animals to that one spot on the Gurudongmar that does not freeze. Right? That's so insensitive. So forget about your religion. Even for the local fauna, this was so wrong. And what was the forest department doing all this while? And for people who are so now talking about I am Gurudongmar, which is a good sentiment to have, but you got to look at from a holistic environment point of view, right? Where was this sense of scandal when the only brackish water lake just slightly north of Gurudongmar was dried out by insensitive planning by the army and blind policing by the forest officials. So yeah, I hope it goes into those areas as well.
Yeah. Let's now move on to the second last topic. Let's talk about the cabinet decisions that were recently passed. So the cabinet decisions that were recently passed, the release that we got from the government, from the IPR department, is that certain missing files.
There are files missing from. Yeah.
Missing files. They were just referred to as files missing or missing files. There was no background of when did the files go missing? What files are these? Like, we have no idea, right? It was not mentioned in the release or anything
Missing
like that.
from where?
The cabinet decided that the missing files in the erstwhile chief minister's office or elsewhere.
Oh, okay, as random as that.
Yeah, so that it was causing unwarranted distress to the persons concerned.
Like the new CMO.
So it was decided to expedite police action in the matter.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say about that?
I mean, first of all, if files are missing, there should be an inquiry and investigation. But like I said, kitne inquiries ho rahe abhi. Anyways, but if files are missing, yes. And more than the fact that the files are missing, which is of course not a nice thing to happen if it did, my worry is there no process of handing over and taking over?
Yeah.
When a new CMO takes over, shouldn't the previous CMO be there with a file saying, these are the files in our possession, these are the files that are in the departments, these are the books we have in the library, this is the furniture we have. I think like,
inventory. I don't know whether they should know. I mean, we just assuming we don't know, right?
because if that is the process, then files should not have gone missing. Or nobody should have known that files are missing, because if it's not there in an inventory, then it's not missing, right? So I don't know. So my bigger concern is that these are like basic administrative processes, right?
This handing
You
over
take
stuff,
over a
yeah.
new job, you take over a new office from someone else, wouldn't you ask कौन सा चीज़ कहाँ है और किस stage में है और
Yeah, like I was telling you last time also, this friend who's a doctor who has worked in Apollo Delhi, in Delhi. So we were talking about how this handing over thing only, even with nurses, the day nurses and the night nurses. So whether there is any system like that in the STNM hospital also, because she was saying Apollo, it was a major thing. When the day nurse the head nurse of the day would hand over the floor to the night nurse, they would just be like 2-3 hours, 2 hours, I'm exaggerating, but 1 or 2 hours it would take them to get everything like, like verified कि ये these are whatever patients ये है उसका ये अभी तक ये हो चुका है. And she was like, at that time nobody can even dare to go and talk to those nurses because they'll be so like
busy
into. So involved in that whole thing, like they would like just scream at you or something like that. So you just had to let them be and let them finish that process. And every day, it was an everyday thing.
Wow.
Whoever gets the handed over. So I don't know if I don't know to kya. Of course, I don't think that kind of seriousness is possible here. But I just wanted to mention that when you
it is absolutely, which is why Sikkim is not Apollo or as efficiently run, I guess. But yeah, I mean, so one of someone I know was recently vacating a central government quarter and giving it up, right, moving into his own quarters or whatever, and it took him about a week to get all the NOCs and clearances, like go to power department, get an NOC that all the bills are cleared and things like that. That was something as basic as giving up a government quarter. When you're handing over the chief minister's office, you can't just move out and ki chalo tum log move in, right? Where is what is there? I mean, all of these things should be basic standard administrative procedures, which is what I don't know, the head of the executive should have in place.
Yeah, and I would really like to know what files
are missing.
Yeah,
and how do you know
that
something is missing when it's missing, right? So,
all right. Anyway, so another thing that the cabinet decided was that it observed that despite the 5-day week that the government has initiated, officers and employees were still not coming on time or leaving on time.
Yeah.
So then they said they directed the secretaries to take strict action, I think, against such
again, how many things are the secretaries going to do? They have also got to remember their tour programs to the chief secretary, otherwise they get pechied.
Yes.
So,
that too.
But that doesn't surprise me.
No, and I said, 5-day week I thought it was for care and cure. I mean, it's not really for...
It was a thank you, that's all, for voting for us.
Anyway, so...
But that doesn't surprise me. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Whoever thought that making it a 5-day week would suddenly improve the work culture?
Yeah, that's...
Or like sitting guard on the gate will improve work culture? Like none of these things, it doesn't work like that. And if they thought that suddenly like this will become a well-oiled machine because everyone is cared and cured for on Saturday and Sunday, like please.
Okay, another topic, another decision
of the cabinet
is that no employee shall give a joint representation, nor he or she will carry his or her own file. Assembly of such people in the corridors of Tashining Secretariat will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
So I remember asking you, what does this mean? Because I didn't quite get it. Like, what does this carry your own file?
Carry your own file means your own personal requests for leave or reimbursement or transfer requests and things like that. The general practice was that the employee would, because the administration, everybody is so casual in the workforce, you don't trust whoever is responsible to move files to do it, you do it yourself. And So maybe the government is wrong. Maybe everyone is showing up in time, but they are just running after their own files. Anyways, so people would do it by themselves.
Yeah.
So that is obviously kind of got the government upset. I don't know.
Okay.
And you can't do it.
All right. Quickly, moving on to the last topic is the High Court judgment about the Punjab University, not Punjab
IK
University,
Gujral
IK Gujral Punjab University.
Technical University.
This was, how long was this ago when this case had been filed?
4-5 years, no?
Four.
4-5 years actually.
4-5
It was
years.
when we were in now, I think,
Yeah.
no? It came up first.
So the social welfare, just a quick background, we are running out of time. So the social welfare department had sent these students on scholarship, I think, no?
Yeah.
Sponsored them to study in this institute called ITFT Institute, which has a really weird name. Technology, future trends of technology and future trends or something like
Future
that.
technologies.
So in Chandigarh, they had sent them, and then only later they found out, or midway they found out, that it is not recognized by the University Grants Commission, UGC. So that is when this new story broke out, and then ultimately they filed a case in the High Court, and so the High Court on recently passed the judgment that the
not judgment, it's a daily one of the orders. The
sorry.
case is not decided
Okay,
yet.
sorry. Apologies. Passed an order saying that the university has to pay rupees 2.2 crores.
Yeah.
Was fined rupees 2.2 crores and has to pay each of the 225 students 1 lakh each.
Yeah, that is how it adds up to 2 crores.
I think it is
2.26 crores.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that is how it.
Yes. 226 students, 1 lakh each is 2.26 crores. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And that was because the institute, the university, was dragging its feet. It was not keeping the court informed. The court was convinced that the institute was not displaying adequate seriousness about this issue, which has dragged on for a while. I think it's wonderful.
It is wonderful, but at the same time, I'm wondering, why will there be any action against the department, against the social welfare
I
department?
think social welfare department had kind of addressed that issue, in the sense that
they were also duped.
No, they were not also duped. They did not stand guarantee for any of these courses to begin with. The students
because
the option was offered and they took that and that kind of stuff.
Because the students have said that because the social welfare department was offering this course in this institute, that's why they thought everything.
Which is not
fine.
what the court case is about. So that will be a separate issue that maybe the government could look into, or by way of policy, right? How do you send students on scholarship? How do you empanel institutes where you would recommend students to go and things like that? So that would require a policy change. The case in the court is not about social welfare department and things like that. It's essentially about the institute and the con that the students feel they've been played. Okay. But of course, they'll be held accountable, hopefully, in the court itself.
Right. Thank you very much for listening, and we would like to request our listeners to send in voice notes. Now, I don't know how they'll send in voice notes through Facebook. We should give a phone number, no?
Yeah. 98320 80753.
You can send in your voice notes through WhatsApp. I think that's the easiest.
Yes.
About anything, your reviews, your criticism, your suggestions, or any interesting sound that you have captured.
Or tidbits you want to share.
Anything. And we will try and include it in our podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening. This is Chiringi.